Floor is yours.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members. I think it's ironic that we've just heard so much testimony about cruelty to animals. And if you just transpose yourself into what we're talking about now, I think it kind of boggles my mind. But anyway, the human heart has universally had the meaning of a signs of life. And the heart is the first organ to function, and it brings life to the rest of the body, pumping blood to the rest of the body. Monitoring the heart is really a routine medical procedure, and monitors are going on all the time with babies, with adults, monitoring their hearts and checking it. So just because you change the name of the person that's monitoring the heartbeat from an OBGYN to an abortionist doesn't change the monitoring, doesn't change what it means. The meaning of a heartbeat is a sign of life, and it's just plain wrong to stop a heart from beating, whether it's in an adult or whether it's in a preborn baby. I worked in a hospital for 20 years as a medical technologist, and I often responded as a part of a code team. And so one of the first jobs is to get that heart beating, watching it, and because it is a sign of life. If a heart went flatline, you worked real hard to get it beating again. Technology has changed. I think Representative McLaughlin mentioned that. The abortion debate today really is no longer a question of whether or not there is a life in the womb. Technology just proves that. But now the real debate is whether or not we protect that life or whether we end that life. So just in closing, I think it's just wrong to stop a beating heart, and I support the passage of this bill. Thank you.
Any questions for the Reverend? Thank you.
Honorable Chair and members of the committee, my name is Destiny Smith. I'm the Deputy Director and Education Coordinator at Rhode Island Right to Life. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in support of H7355, a resolution recognizing that a fetal heartbeat is a sign that human life is present. While a resolution has no practical effect in law, it does provide a wonderful opportunity for all of us to reflect upon the incredible journey upon which each one of us has personally embarked. I have submitted, along with my written testimony, the same two-sided color handout we share with high school and college students, chronicling this miraculous continuum from the moment of conception to the moment of birth. The resolution being considered by this committee seeks nothing more than to affirm this remarkable biological reality, a biological reality through which each of us have lived. It is hard to imagine anything less controversial or anything less complicated for this committee and this General Assembly to do than affirm this beautiful reality of human life. I thank you for your time and consideration and would be happy to answer any questions as I am able. Thank you.
Any questions?
So I don't want to make you think that I'm here to rehash everything that happened last year, but there are a couple of points from March 5th, 2019 that are important for understanding this current bill. So March 5th, 2019 is the day that you all met to vote out of committee the Reproductive Privacy Act. Chairman Craven is quoted on that day as saying that it was a strict codification of Roe v. Wade. That's what the Reproductive Privacy Act was sold as. A strict codification of Roe v. Wade. He also said this bill is a true representation of Roe v. Wade, March 5th, 2019. Representative Filippi challenged him on that when he brought up the fetal homicide law that was taken out of that bill that you passed last year. Representative Filippi sat right here and made a sound argument that this was not a codification of Roe v. Wade when he forced Representative Craven to admit that the bill eliminated any and all protections for, an example, an 8.5-month-old child. A woman who's 8.5 months pregnant is thrown down by her boyfriend, is kicked in the stomach, and the child dies. You might remember that conversation. Representative Craven responded saying, yes, but there are ways to go after that criminal for his attack on the mother. To which Representative Filippi responded, yes, of course, but there's not a way to go after him for what he did to the child. That's off the table. He didn't kill the mother, he may have killed the child. There's no way to go after him for the crime he committed against the mother. To which Representative Craven replied, that is correct. You can check the tape, that is correct. So right now, as we stand in Rhode Island, we are denying all legal status and protections to an 8.5-month-old unborn child which sleeps comfortably inside his mother's womb and who the mother loves and wants to keep. We don't even protect that child that's wanted by his mother. But this was supposed to be a codification of Roe v. Wade. You said it 500 times. Representative Shanley said it, Representative McCarran said it, Representative Jackson even said it. It's codification of Roe v. Wade. But Roe v. Wade says nothing about removing fetal homicide laws from your state. Nothing. And you agree that that's what it did. So it was a lie that the Reproductive Privacy Act was simply a codification. That's just one way it was a lie. In fact, and Representative Filippi made this point as well, Roe v. Wade said after the second trimester, the state has a compelling interest for the child. So Roe v. Wade not only, removing the fetal homicide didn't just go against Roe v. Wade and add to it, it actually went against the spirit of Roe v. Wade in that it said the state has a compelling interest in the life of the child, but you took away all rights for a wanted child. So you lied about it being a codification of Roe v. Wade. It wasn't. And again, that's just one way it wasn't a codification. So Representative Filippi asked you, why are we doing this? He sat right there. You said, correct, that's right, it takes away the right of the child. And Representative Filippi said, why are we doing this? This is wrong.
Excuse me a minute. Doc, you have a question?
There are those in this audience who are going to be very surprised that I'm going to go down this route, but I have to ask you, and everyone knows where I stand on this issue.
I'm going to come to the middle.
Let me finish. My opinions and my beliefs on this issue are immutable. They transcend political lines, they transcend cultural lines, they transcend religious lines. But I have to ask, how does this relate to the bill at hand, which I respect? But how does this relate to the bill in hand? We all know, unfortunately, from my standpoint, what transpired last year. Where is this going?
I promise you you'll know that
I can
in
assure
about
you
1
that
minute.
if it continues, you'll be losing points as opposed to gaining them.
No, I'm done with that point. The last thing Representative Filippi said was, why are we doing this? And that was met with, he asked you that directly, that was met with silence from you. There was no answer to that question. Why are we doing this after he made his point? Now we're going to, later this session, now you're asking us to pay for abortions. Now we're going to taxpayer-funded abortions. That's not Roe v. Wade either. We'll get to that later. So here's where we get to the heartbeat bill. Here's something else you said last year, Chairman. The mother is a human being, but the child is a fetus. This is a statement that you made in a failed attempt to dehumanize the unborn in order to justify killing them. You were wrong about the basic biology that is needed and required to understand this issue. You tried to dehumanize a child in the womb by calling it a fetus like that's a dirty word. You were wrong about the basic biology of this issue. You have to understand the biology. This is a human being. He's smaller than you, but he's not less human than you. It's a fetus. Is an infant not human because we call it an infant? So we were wrong about the biology. So that brings us to the heartbeat bill. Today is Shrove Tuesday in the Catholic Church. On this day, we ask people to reflect on two things. It's the day before Ash Wednesday. To go to confession and to meditate on something specific, the face of Jesus Christ. That's what this day asks you to do. Why do we go to confession? Because we want to admit that we're broken and we make mistakes. We don't do the right thing. We look out for ourselves a lot before we look out for others. We look out for the best interests of others and our God who gave us life. So the church asks us to go to confession today. But then a very specific and sort of odd thing, it asks us to reflect on the face of Christ. And why is that? Why the face of Christ? It's a reminder that we are made in the image of something. Not the reverse. We don't make God in our image. We're made in his image. He gave us life. So his face is what we want to gaze upon and what we want to know. And that's what will give us life. The face identifies you. That's what a face does. It identifies you. You know who I am and what I am because of my face. And I know who and what you are because of your faces. The lips communicate. The eyes see. And that's true for the child. You can identify him by his face. These children have faces. Before they are crushed and mutilated and thrown down a sewer, they have faces, real faces. They don't look like you. They're a little bit less formed. The skin is thinner, but they have faces. So after last year's legislation, these children have nothing. They have nothing left. You took away all of their protections, even when their mom wants them, you took away their protection and their legal status. And you tried to even explain away their basic humanity by trying to dehumanize them, calling them merely a fetus as opposed to the mother who's a human being. You tried to dehumanize them. But I'll tell you two things they do have, this is not controversial. There's two things they have. They have a face and they have a heartbeat. Everyone that's killed down at Planned Parenthood today had a heartbeat and a face. A heartbeat is the existence of human life. That is as base a scientific fact as you can possibly articulate with the human mouth. A heartbeat means that a human life exists. Looks different, smaller, that's a human life. And if we believe that our rights come from God and are inalienable, we don't have the right to take them away. So I'm asking you to grant these babies, these children, the right to be recognized based on the fact that they have a face and a heartbeat. By the undeniable existence of their face and heart, give them back something. You took everything from them. Give them back something. Recognize them. Admit what no doctor or scientist would sit here and deny, that it's a human life. Recognize them. Give them something back. Thank you.
I'll bet you the witness in the middle has got a lot to say.
She's very pro-life.
But she can sign up as well.
Yeah, I know. Add her to the list.
Kara, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I want to really commend Rep. McLaughlin for bringing this forward. It's something that is just such common sense. And I think we really have to ask ourselves, what kind of a state do we want to be seen as by the world? A state that would have the clarity and the common sense and the heart to recognize someone as being alive when they have a beating heart? Or do we want to be seen as some place that will defy common sense? Defy science and biology in the interest of forwarding this agenda of abortion on demand to say that someone who has a heartbeat is not alive. I mean, it almost defies belief that it wouldn't be something that we would just embrace so readily and obviously. Yes, honey. Yes, you got it. Okay. She wants to make sure she gets to go next. So, all right, give Mommy one more second, okay, honey? So when you see the shows, like doctor shows, ER, this kind of thing, when they've got a trauma, and they finally do the shocks on the chest, and they finally get the heart to beat again, and everybody's clapping. I mean, why can we recognize that a beating heart means life in every other stage of life, but we're willing to completely obscure reason to try to make it seem like the baby is not alive. The baby does have a beating heart by 22 days, and some of these abortion methods where they actually inject the heart and then wait for cardiac arrest are so barbaric. I mean, the fact is, these babies are alive, their hearts are beating after 22 days after conception, and this should not be something political, it's just common sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mary.
I think that we should all be pro-life, and we should all be the same and be pro-life.
Good job. I can't wait till you get to first grade and tell the teacher that you've testified before the House Judiciary Committee.
She has great things in store for her. So she is, this is the little baby that we were going to have, and we did have. She had a heartbeat inside of her mother's womb, and now she's 6 years old, and the time has gone by fast, hasn't it, guys?
It has.
So our lives are going by fast, and there's a lot of signs all around us of what's coming, right? We're not stupid people. We can see the world around us, Tyler spoke well. He said that a child is created in the image of God. And Abraham Lincoln said the same thing. He said, nothing created in the image of God was meant to be trodden upon, as he spoke about slavery. So too, the baby in the womb has a face and is created in the same image, and that image needs to be protected. The people who support Planned Parenthood don't fully understand the full history of Planned Parenthood. They're not informed about a lot of the medical and scientific issues that are involved. When they address the baby in the womb, they say fetus. Okay, fetus is a Latin term. It means little one, okay? They use the term that justifies the baby as a human being, as a little human, and they think it's a way to dehumanize the baby. But the baby has human DNA. We're intelligent people here, educated people. The baby's made up of the DNA of the mother and the father. The combination of the two creates a human DNA strand. This is a human being with equal human rights to you and I. So my child is a potential taxpayer. She pays taxes when she buys things at the store.
I don't.
You get a lot of money out of my pocket, right? Yeah, you got a full piggy bank full of money, right?
I save it.
You save it. What are you saving up for?
An Apple iPad.
An Apple iPad, okay. So she's going to pay taxes on that. So the state, you have to pay taxes. Everybody's got to pay taxes. So the state has an obligation to this child, and also the child has an obligation to the state. She's compelled to pay taxes, okay? So therefore, upon the heartbeat of a child, the humanization of the child becomes an obligation of the state, but the child also has a tax obligation to the state. And that obligation cannot be removed by murdering the child. The state has an interest into that tax. So the baby in the womb has human rights. The baby in the womb has a heartbeat at 22 days. The baby in the womb is a human being. We're not blind people. We see what's happening in the world. We see this child now, who is a baby, now is a younger person, 6-year-old person, eventually will be, able to vote, right? And hopefully for you guys, right? And this baby we see, and we can see this baby clearly. We also can see the signs all around us. We have virtually a plague that's happening worldwide right now. We have a 2,000 point drop in the U.S. Dow Jones, right? We have the signs all around us that we are in an apocalyptic time, okay? The signs are clear. Now, whose obligation is more important, to the speaker or who the speaker reports to, or to the eternal God? Because I tell you as clearly as I'm speaking here today, each of you will be judged by God. And by making a sacrifice here today and allowing this bill through committee, and letting the House and the Senate vote on this bill, which they did on the last prior bill, where they allowed for the murder of the baby up until the moment of birth. And the baby, they can sell the baby's body parts with no criminal penalty. There's no penalties involved. So what does it mean if they say that they can't do it, if there's no penalty involved? okay? So we are clear here that in other states, the baby is delivered, the baby's alive, and they're selling the baby's body parts from this alive baby that's been delivered, already out of the mother's womb. Where do we begin to realize there's a judgment that we are going to suffer for allowing these babies to be tortured, for allowing these babies to be murdered, denying the humanity of these babies? Now, you are the filter that allows this bill to go through to committee. God will judge you much more harshly. I'm telling you right now, he will judge you much more harshly if you do not let the entire House and the Senate vote. Let them vote and make their positions clear to God. They made them clear in the last bill. This is a democratic republic. We allow for legislation to be heard, to be voted on. I know you've got an order not to allow this through committee. Bypass that order. For God, for your judgment, I am telling you, you will be judged. Each of us will be judged. Allow it through committee. Allow it through committee. And let the House and the Senate vote on it. That's all. They did it they voted on it. They made the positions in the last session. Why was that bill allowed through and this bill not allowed through? Why? Just allow the people who have been elected into public office decide if this baby is a human being with a heartbeat. Common sense says they are human. Common sense says they have human DNA. Common sense says they have a heartbeat. They can hear the heartbeat. We have eyes to see. We have ears to hear. We can hear the heartbeat. We can see the baby in the womb now. Fully formed babies that they kill up until the moment of birth. They harvest their body parts. This is a fact. One of my best friends represents, as an attorney, one of the people who brought this forward under undercover video through Planned Parenthood, them selling body parts. It's made it to the Supreme Court, the case. Clearly, you are in a position now where you have to break the bounds of what put you here. Just vote on the bill. He's not going to even be he's not going to be elected in the next session. He's done. He has no power. Okay? Now it's time to end this, okay? It's the reality. He put it through committee last time.
One minute, Chris. Dr. Kovesi.
I think we should all be the same and stop being bad, and we should all be good and not torture babies.
Wiser words were never spoken. Having said that, Chris, keep the politics out of it with all due respect.
Politics are in it. You think God's not going to judge Mattiello? Are you kidding me? He allowed for babies to be murdered.
Chris, I do not want to get into a debate with you.
Let it go on the floor.
I do not want to get into a debate with you, respectfully.
He promised me, before he got the speakership in committee, he promised me he
I
would push through bills like this.
I have the floor.
Right.
Continue, if you wish, regarding the merits of the bill. Leave the politics out of it because it colors it in a way you do not want. It is not appropriate. It is not appropriate. It is not appropriate. Discuss the merits of the bill.
Then you put it through committee. Otherwise, I've been told it's been silenced. The bill's been silenced. You tell me I don't know the truth.
Then you
tell me I don't know the truth.
With all due respect, then you must know something the rest of this committee doesn't, because it was taken under advisement. It will be taken under advisement, and we have a long session to go. Please.
You take this under advisement, okay? You are going to face God. You have the power now. You could sacrifice your career. That's true. Why not? The world's not going to be around much longer. You see the signs everywhere. So at what point, these people, what matters is your eternal soul. That's what really matters. Beyond this whole thing here, okay? This is supposed to be a democratic process, a government built on a republic based on law, okay? That doesn't seem to happen when it comes to protecting the life of a child where you can see it's a child. You can see it's a child. There's no, you can lie to yourself and say that that's not a baby with arms and legs and a head and eyes, but it is. You can lie to yourself and be deluded by the propaganda from Planned Parenthood, which was started by a racist, Margaret Sanger, with the intention of eliminating the poor and people of color. We are educated people here. We know how Planned Parenthood was started. We know that Margaret Sanger was, Adolf Hitler modeled his concentration camps after the forced labor farms Margaret Sanger set up. We are educated people.
Chris, please don't make me raise my voice.
Voted
okay?
through committee.
I've known you for a long time, and I've listened to you for even longer. Would you agree?
We're friends.
Would you
We are
agree?
friends.
We are friends.
We are friends.
So
voted through
would you
voted through
keep the
committee.
politics of what
Look,
happened with
whatever.
the...
I was friends with him. I was friends with Mattiello. He promised me before he got elected speaker that he would not do this, and he did it. He did it. They don't matter. What matters is God. In the end, what matters is God, and everything is clear here. Everything is clear. Your decision determines your fate. Okay? And it's no joke, and it's nothing to profit from, because the most profitable thing you'll ever get is your soul. Okay? None of this other stuff matters except for your soul. Okay? And the souls of the babies that you'll be saving, and the people who are being tricked into killing their own children. You know, you have the power here to break away from the norm, to break away from the power structure. You know, how long are you going to do this stuff for anyways? I mean, it's time to fight against evil. It's time to do what you were put here to do. You know, there are things that you want to get through. I understand that. Bills you want to get passed. I understand that. But ultimately, what matters is that your soul is on the line. It's no clearer than that. The signs are clear everywhere. We have a plague in the whole world. It's affecting the whole world. Italy, everywhere. You think it's a joke? You think it's not real? You're covering your eyes from it? This is a reality. Hell is a reality. Gehenna. Jesus spoke of Gehenna. You think it's a joke. You're not stupid people. There's no joke here anymore. Now it's time to make a decision that risks your future. Now it's time. God will judge it. He'll say, I reward you well in heaven. You have a mansion in heaven for fighting for a baby who has no one to speak for them. Okay, ultimately that's it. I can't speak perfectly to turn your heart to do the right thing. You have to make the decision to do the right thing at your own sacrifice. But Jesus sacrificed on the cross. He suffered, he died, and he rose again, and he ascended into heaven. You too can do the same thing beyond them who are possessed by this demonic force that allows for the murder of children. They sell their body parts. Whose side do you want to be on in the end? The time is now. There's no other time. The signs are clear. People are dying from plague, right? Are we not clear about that? So now is the time to risk your future, to risk your life, to take a position of a leadership role. You were put here by God. You were put here by God. You were put in these seats by God. This is the time to make the right choice, to save the baby in the womb, to save the human being in the womb. No doubt, no denying, a baby made of human DNA. A baby, a human being. It's up to you. It's up to you. I would do it. I would risk my future. I've done it time and time again, right? You can do it. You've done it. I've seen you do it. At trial, at every bill you've put through. Now's the time to encourage each other to do the right thing, to allow the House and the Senate to vote on it. They will do what they will do. And everyone in this state is seeing this. Whoever watches the show, they know the truth as well. This baby's a human. Let the people vote if it has a heartbeat at 22 days and if it's human. Just allow it to go through committee.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
I think you were a baby and you grew up to do this. I think you should choose the right choice, and that is choose to make a pro-abortion people be pro-life.
Thank you very much. She's cute. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Dave O'Connell. I'm speaking for myself. I believe that all of you on the committee today have a great opportunity. And as I think about it, there are a lot of bills that you deal with all year long. This is a very special one. This is a bill in which you could support what is known to be the truth. And what truth do I speak of? It's a really very obvious one for anybody who takes biology. And that is, a child in the womb is a human being. That's all. I mean, it's the shortest sentence you could come up with. A child in the womb is a human being. It's not another species. It's not another creature. It's not almost a human being. It's not more than a human being. A child in the womb is a human being. And that's really basically, I mean, that's even more than what the bill is asking for as a resolution. The bill is asking for you recognize his humanity or her humanity from the time he or she has a heartbeat beyond. But the fact is, the child is a human being before the heartbeat occurs, because it's a human being from the beginning. The reason, I'm not a physician or a medical doctor or anything like that. I don't have to be. The simple biology is that the mother is a human being, the father is a human being, and therefore they procreate another human being. It's really kind of obvious. It's almost so simplistic as to be ridiculous to bring into and to try to convince people that it's the truth. But it is the truth. You were a human being from the beginning. You're a human being now. I don't have to be a physician to say that you're a human being. It's obvious. We don't have to be Captain Obvious here. But I guess that's what I'm playing as. That child in the womb is a human being. This bill only asks for you to recognize it from heartbeat on. I think it's really obvious that if the child has a heartbeat, it's alive. At the same time, even more than that, the child is alive if it's growing. If something's growing, it's not dead, it's alive. And because it's in the womb of a mother and procreated by a mother and a father, it's a human being. Therefore, it's a living human being. In the Declaration of Independence, it has a very nice phrase in there. We've all heard it over and over and over again. All men are created equal. That's something we believe is true, and there was a civil war that helped to prove it. All men are created equal. I ask you to remember when we're created. We're not created at birth. No one would propose, on either side of any argument, would propose that we're created at birth, because obviously we're there an hour before we're born, and it's the same person. We are created at the beginning, when we started out as an embryo, created by our mother and father and God. And so this bill is almost so simplistic as to be obvious to vote in favor of. But if you do vote in favor of it, you will get opposition, and you may lose some friends. You might even lose your position as a representative. Who knows? But you would be doing something very important. You would be voting in favor of the truth. And there's never anything more important than voting in favor of the truth, of standing up for the truth when it's right in front of you, and it's such a key issue, such a life and death issue. There's nothing more important than that. And at the same time, there is a definition that when someone stands up for the truth, stands up for what's right, in the face of adversity, that is the definition of bravery. And I ask you all to be brave. Some of you, it's obvious. You already stand on the one side. Some of you may be wavering. Some of you may oppose it. But you can't oppose a fact. A fact is not somebody's opinion. It's a fact. And it's a biological fact that a child in the womb is a human being. It's basically what this bill says. It takes not a great deal of bravery, but a little bravery to stand up for this truth. And I ask you to do that. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm going to oppose to this bill due to several reasonings. One being, we all came from our mothers, and we started at some point, obviously, and this is not, we're not only looking at the aspect of human life, we're also looking at our morals. Where is this even gonna end? We've been going on to this for the last 2.5 years. Ask yourself, when is it gonna end? I have myself thinking, I would never, ever put, let's say if I decided to have children, never put anybody through that. Or even if, this is just common sense. Every human life deserves a chance. You guys want common sense gun laws? You guys want common sense everything else. Why not common sense at life? That's all I have to say on this.
Any questions? Thank you.
Hi, all right. My name is Lisa French. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing us to testify. I'm in support of this bill, and I'll tell you why. I don't know how many people know I've testified before. As a matter of fact, Senator Archambault heard my testimony last year, came up to me in public and said, I heard you, your words didn't fall on deaf ears. And then he turned around and voted for the very bill that I was testifying against. Be that as it may, I remain a very staunch supporter. I consider myself to be part of the Humane Society for the Unborn. This is an unborn baby. It seems to me that tonight we heard exhaustive testimony about the cruelty against animals. I'd like to submit something. What about the cruelty to the unborn? How about that? It says in the book of Jude, now I'm not a minister, but I am a Christian. It says in the book of Jude that we are to pull the innocent away from the fire. That's what those of us who believe in this bill are trying to do, okay? Chris Young had a very passionate testimony, and it was very long. That's why, okay? The heart begins to beat at 18 days. This has already been said. That 18 days, maybe some people say 22. 18, 22. The point is, that's within the first month of the first trimester, okay? That is not something that's up for debate. In the event that a person is in hospice care, you know what happens? They check for a heartbeat. I know about hospice care because 12 years ago, my best friend on this planet was in hospice care. Every night before I went to sleep, I would look over and I would check to see if her chest would rise and fall. Why? Because I wanted to know she was still alive. You can understand that. We're all intelligent people. Not a one of us is dumb. So I implore you, pass this bill. Please, for the love of God, just pass this bill. I want to say one last thing. We need to understand something. It's very inconvenient that this is the truth, that an unborn child has a heartbeat. It's very inconvenient, and I understand that. But you know what? Sometimes there are some truths that are inconvenient. And sometimes, no matter how bad we want to change them, we can't. So please think about that, okay? Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you.
I'm it.
Thanks.
Okay. So my name is Christiana Gondro. I am here to testify for this bill. And the reason that I am testifying for this bill is that, so I remember when I became pregnant and people would say, well, what are you having? And I would say, well, I know it's not a bear, and I know it's not a dog. I'm having a baby. And I used to say that jokingly because I was one of those people that didn't want to find out what I was having. Didn't know if I was having a boy, if I was having a girl, but I knew I wasn't having anything other than a human being. And my daughter is expecting. And so what do we always wait for? We wait for the recognition that the heartbeat is beating, that we hear a baby within the womb to know that the baby is alive. And I understand that it's a very, you're being asked to make a decision on something that people are very opposed. Like, if we come from different directions because we start in a different place. The woman decides, or is it actually a baby? That means that that baby has rights or whatever. We're simply asking that you recognize that a human being exists from the time that the heartbeat begins. We have laws protecting eggs from from species that are nearing extinction, because we know that those eggs are going to hatch into that bird. It's not going to hatch into a human being. It's not going to hatch into a dog. It's going to hatch into that bird that is on the endangered list. So we're asking that you pass this bill out of committee to recognize that a heartbeat says that a human is alive in the woman's body. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much. And that concludes